Self-control, discipline, and doing hard things or breaking hard habits is actually really simple once you understand what I'm about to walk you through. And it all comes down to understanding your subpersonalities that are held within your unconscious and how to rechannel their needs into outlets that are going to not only fulfill that need, but also maximize the amount of progress you can make in your life and minimize the amount that you are held back by your own unconscious patterns. So what you firstly need to understand is that you are not a single entity, right? This is you. This is what we'll call the self. You actually have a multiplicity of self. So what I mean by that is that you have within your unconscious mind different subpersonalities, which each have their own beliefs, desires, needs, and everything in between. And the reason that you find it hard to do hard things, to break certain habits, or to do the things that you know that you should be doing is because each of these subpersonalities has a different set of conflicting needs, which is going against your own goals and desires. And so just to give you an example, when I was younger, about a decade ago, I was completely and utterly addicted to weed, drinking, gaming, porn, like everything that you could possibly imagine that would destroy your life. I was completely riddled by them. And what I thought at the time was that I just had an addictive personality and it was just some form of a character flaw and that I would never be able to rid myself of these different vices. But then I discovered the gym. And I discovered the gym about around 9 years ago. And when I discovered that, I realized that I could actually channel this part of my character into this other outlet. And so rather than destroying my life, I could actually develop my life. That spiraled into me finding entrepreneurship. And then again, I was able to carry that energy forward. What I didn't understand, however, which I later understood, is this concept of sub-personalities. Now, this is actually what's going to give you the most leverage over yourself and building self-control, because essentially what we need to do here is identify all these different sub-personalities and the needs that they possess. Because these sub-personalities come on from unmet needs during our childhood or unmet needs during our teenage years. And the problem is that they run unconsciously. These needs are going to be held within the unconscious, influencing your conscious behavior without you even recognizing that that's the case. So maybe you have one part of you that craves fun. And so that fun-loving element of you ends up pushing you to go and drink or play video games or doom scroll on social media or watch Netflix, whatever it may be. But again, what you're unaware of is that there is this unmet need from the unconscious, from this subpersonality, that we can actually meet in other ways. So let's just walk through a few different examples here. So we can obviously look at fun as one, we could say progress as another. And again, this need of mine for progress was originally found in video games. For example, I used to love this video game called Rust. And if you're familiar with it, essentially it's very much a game of progression. You start with a rock and you have to essentially find resources and, essentially evolve through the ranks until you've got guns, you've got a base, and you have to protect against other people. So that created this sense of progress in my life, except the progress I was making was on this weekly basis. I would make progress in this game, the server would reset, and I'd start from scratch. So I had this constant cycle of progress that I was feeling, when in reality, I really wasn't getting anywhere in life. And people also manifest this within their, social media, right? They want to have all the followers. Again, within gaming, right? Trying to progress in games. But the problem is that, of course, these are taking away from the progress that they could be making in their life financially, in obviously their own health and fitness, romantically, and all these different areas that actually matter at the end of the day. Another one is the need for intimacy. Now, again, people will try and meet this need through social media. They'll try and meet it through porn. They'll try and meet it through casual dating. They'll try and meet it through watching YouTube videos and vlogs of other people. But again, they are actually surrogate to the real, areas of their lives that they could focus on to generate real intimacy with themselves and a connection with the deeper level of self that they have, as well as intimacy with a real person in real life or a real partner. So let's just continue down. We'll look at the next one, which I would say is very common for most people, which is status, right? And again, many people try and find this in video games, climbing ranks in video games, on social media, trying to build a followership, and all these different areas. And I'll say that the final one we'll touch on is freedom. And again, all the same sort of things are showing up here, which is video games like GTA, where you can just fly around and shoot people and do whatever you want. Even simple behaviors like not wanting to stick to a routine, not wanting to adhere to rules, right? These all come under this need for freedom. So again, we're essentially meeting the needs of all these different parts in destructive ways. And what we really need to do in order to build discipline and apply this to build self-control is that we need to channel them into new areas. We need to channel these needs into activities that are actually going to produce the outcomes that we want, instead of just producing a surrogate experience of progress or a surrogate meeting of this need. So let's look at fun, for example. A lot of people, as I've said, will use video games or clubbing or drinking or drugs to try and meet this need. But at the end of the day, again, these are surrogate ways of meeting this need. So we want to try and look at redirecting that energy into something that's going to produce progress in your life as well as a degree of fun, right? So for that, for you, it might be, it could be anything. It could be travel, right? It could be connecting with other people. It could be going to masterminds and networking with people who share common interests to you or who are at a level that you want to be at, right? With progress, instead of channeling it, again, we could say into video games, or we could say social media. Obviously, if you're using social media for your business, maybe it's a bit more valid. But what we can do is we can actually redirect this, right, into something like the gym. For intimacy, instead of course, channeling it into something like porn or something, like social media, we can again redirect that into something like actually connecting with people in real life. And we could go all the way down the line, but essentially, if you want to channel this to produce a very specific outcome, like say growing a business or growing your career, what you want to do is identify all these different subpersonalities and all their different needs, and you want to channel that into that single area. So we want to essentially take all these different needs and just channel them all into one place, which would be, in this case, your work. Or maybe it's a martial art, maybe it's the gym, right? So we want to channel all of this potential into something that's actually going to produce the outcomes that we want in life. Because otherwise we're going to get pulled in all these different unconscious directions, and we're never actually going to make progress in ways that are meaningful to the goals that we actually have set. So essentially, you want to really think about, what is the ultimate thing that I consciously want? Is it wealth? Is it to build a certain body? Is it to find a partner? Is it to, make a certain amount of money? Identify that goal, and then through identifying all the different needs, which you can find by reverse engineering your current behaviors. Like if you're constantly playing video games, you probably have a need for fun or for progress or for connection if you play with friends. If it's status, potentially you're, again, addicted to progressing in video games or just trying to build a followership on social media outside of trying to use it for business, for example. For freedom, again, looking at the different ways that you're trying to find freedom in your life by trying to avoid sticking to certain routines, like not wanting to get up at the time of your alarm, not wanting to go to the gym, not wanting to have any real structure in your life, and identify these needs and then figure out ways that you can plow them all into your work or link them back to your work. Because essentially it's just a process of really looking at, okay, here's the ultimate goal. Where in my life, or how, in what ways can this goal help me have more freedom? And then you can start to list all the different ways that this goal can fulfill this need in all these different ways. And you want to go through and do this for all of these different needs you identify, again, for progress. Look at all the different ways that achieving this or pursuing this can help you fulfill the need of progress. And when you stack all of these up and you create this list and you create this linking between the thing that you want and these unconscious needs that these subpersonalities have, then you can start to move away from all these maladaptive ways that you're meeting those needs, all those unhealthy ways that you're meeting those needs, and start to meet them in a way that is actually conducive to the goals that you have set for yourself. So it really is that simple. Obviously, easier said than done, but understanding it at a conceptual level is the first step to actually applying it. Because again, most of unconscious integration is identifying the unmet needs and meeting them in ways that are essentially conducive to what you want from your life, right? So I'll leave it there. If you enjoyed, don't forget to subscribe. I'll leave another video here, and I'll see you in the next one.